Have you ever wondered why some people are born with power, money, influence, while others spend their lives in the shadows? Is it just chance, karma, or something much deeper? Why do the richest sometimes feel empty inside, while those who have nothing radiate incredible peace and wisdom? Let me tell you about my friend Alex. He had everything: a prestigious job, an expensive car, a status wife. By any standard, a successful person. But do you know what he told me once over a cup of coffee? I feel like I'm playing someone else's life. Inside, there's just emptiness. By the end of this video, you'll find out what happened to him next and what discovery turned his life upside down. But first, let's get to the main point. In this video, we're asking an uncomfortable question. Is there a connection between level of consciousness and social status? And if there is, why does everything often look the opposite? What is social status? From childhood, we're taught to recognize signs of success: branded clothes, prestigious education, position, salary, recognition. Remember your school years? Some had the latest phone models, while others were embarrassed by their clothes. And even then, we understood. This affects how people treat you. Social status is an invisible mark on your forehead that others read. It determines how people treat you, who you can love, what you have the right to feel. But here's what's interesting. I recently met a businessman who had just bought his third apartment in the city center. And you know what he told me? Each time I buy something, the joy lasts less and less. Maybe that's not the point. Here's the paradox. We live in a world where status equals value. But where did this formula come from? And what if it's just a collective illusion? We'll return to this question. But first, let's understand the other side of the equation. What is level of consciousness? When we talk about developed consciousness, what do you imagine? Probably a gray-haired intellectual giving a lecture, or a guru in white robes. But the real level of consciousness isn't in words or ideas. It's in how a person experiences reality. Imagine this situation. Two people are stuck in traffic. The first one shouts, gets nervous, blames everyone around. The second observes his emotions, accepts the situation, and uses this time to listen to an audiobook or just be in silence. Externally, the same situation. Internally, two different worlds. The higher the level of consciousness, the more a person lives not from fear, but from understanding. Not from struggle, but from presence. Remember the movie, The Matrix? Most people live as if in a simulation. They react to triggers, automatically defend themselves, chase after phantom happiness. And some, like Neo, see the code of reality, the patterns of their mind, and can choose their reactions. But here's what's interesting. How is this connected to social status? Let's dig deeper. Why doesn't high status always mean high level of consciousness? In our society, there's an unspoken belief. If someone is successful, it means they're smart, developed, determined. They know something others don't. But what if I tell you that often it's the opposite? Remember Steve Jobs? Genius, billionaire, a man who changed the world. But before his death, he told his biographer, "I've reached all the heights of business, and it's all nothing." And Robin Williams? A comedian who made millions laugh, but inside fought with such darkness that he ultimately couldn't survive it. Or let's take a real example from my life. My uncle is a successful top manager with a country house and a watch collection. But you know what I see when we meet at family celebrations? A person who can't relax even at the table, who constantly checks his phone and only talks about work. Is this freedom? Is this happiness? High social status often requires playing a game of control, manipulation, sacrificing time, relationships, soul. Look around. How many truly happy and fulfilled people do you see among those at the top of the social ladder? But if high status doesn't guarantee developed consciousness, maybe it's the opposite? Can low status be a sign of soul maturity? Sounds provocative, right? In a world where value is measured by likes and bank account numbers, it's hard to imagine that lack of status could indicate inner maturity. But let's look at history. Buddha was born a prince. He literally had everything: palaces, servants, women, power. But he left it all to find true meaning. He became homeless, ate alms, slept under trees. By modern society's standards, a complete failure. But his teachings still change millions of lives 2,500 years later. Jesus of Nazareth, a carpenter's son. He didn't aim to become an emperor or businessman. He walked barefoot on dusty roads, communicated with prostitutes and the poor. His status? Zero. His influence? It changed the course of human history. Yes, but these are exceptions, you might say. What about ordinary people? Let me tell you about a woman I met in a small village last summer. She's been a teacher at a rural school for 40 years, lives in a modest house, has never been abroad. By society's standards, an ordinary life. But when I talked with her, in her eyes, I saw such depth of understanding, such acceptance of life in all its fullness that many millionaires would envy. At the end of our conversation, she told me, "You know, I could have moved to the city, built a career, but I realized that my place is here. I can give these children not only knowledge, but also understanding of life. This is my mission." Perhaps some souls deliberately choose a simple life, to avoid being distracted by glitter and noise, to live lessons of service, acceptance, genuine love. Being nobody in society's eyes sometimes means becoming everything in the dimension of spirit. But wait, what if this whole system of statuses is just a game? What if developed consciousness is completely outside this system? Reverse perspective. Mature consciousness outside the system. Here's a revolutionary thought. What if the very idea of status is a trap? A mechanism created to keep consciousness within the framework of a game where it's important to seem, not to be. Do you know what unites many people with truly high levels of consciousness? They simply don't play this game. Remember Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now? Before his spiritual awakening, he was on the verge of suicide, then homeless, without money or recognition. And then, click. He stopped identifying with his thoughts. He stepped beyond the constant stream of worry in his head. And now his books have changed millions of lives. Or think about Leonardo DiCaprio. At the peak of fame, he could post photos from yachts and parties, but instead fights for the planet's ecology. He uses his status not for ego, but to serve something greater. Now let's return to the story of my friend Alex, whom I mentioned at the beginning. What happened to him? After that coffee meeting, he went on a month-long retreat without phone or internet. When he returned, he quit his job, started teaching yoga. His income dropped 10 times. His parents were shocked. Former colleagues thought he was crazy. When I asked him, "Do you regret it?" Component placement. He replied, "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm doing exactly what I should. I stopped living someone else's life." His social status fell, but the level of inner freedom, authenticity, presence increased many times over. Which of us is truly richer? Mature consciousness doesn't rush into battle to prove its superiority. It simply exists, and this changes everything around. Such people rarely become celebrities. They don't shout about themselves, but their energy is felt. You've surely met such people. Near them, you feel calmer, clearer, more alive. They don't do anything. They simply are. And the higher the level of consciousness, the less attachment to social frameworks. Such a person can be everything or nothing because they already exist, and that is enough. Conclusion: how to find your path. Social status is external noise. Consciousness is inner silence. We live in a world that values packaging, not content, where success is measured by likes, not depth. But the soul doesn't obey these measures. You know what I've understood after years of studying this topic? Real evolution happens in silence, in pain, in love, in accepting yourself. Not on stage, but in the quiet of your heart. Perhaps you now feel small by society's standards. Your achievements don't impress others. Your bank account isn't growing as fast as your classmates. But what if this is your unique path? What if your soul chose to be not where it's loud and shiny, but where it's genuine and real? I'm not saying you should give up success or goals. I'm saying, don't let your value depend on numbers and statuses. Let your compass be inside, not outside. Real status isn't given by diploma or position. It shines from within. And you know this, because you feel it when you meet people with this inner light. Now I want to ask you, do you believe there's a connection between inner level of consciousness and position in society? Or are these two completely different axes? Perhaps you yourself have experienced a moment when you realize that external success and inner harmony don't always go hand in hand. Share your opinion in the comments. I personally read every response. And if this video touched something inside you, like and subscribe to the channel. There are many more deep topics ahead that we'll explore together. Also, with each new subscriber, we're one step closer to a world where people value not only external, but also inner wealth. Join our community of depth seekers.